It's time to hit social media for our hashtag segment. For that, we're bringing in Mr. Andy Swan. He's a co-founder of LikeFolio.com. And we've got Evelyn Baker back with us. She is a fast market contributor. Welcome back.
Thanks. We're going to talk Yelp today for hashtags with Andy. And Yelp has earnings after market, and their stock is well off highs right now. And I've got to tell you, in researching Yelp today, that was my first time opening up the app on my phone, and I don't know how long. I always default to Google, and I know that I'm a pretty small sample size. So Andy, I want to ask you, is that what you're seeing across the board? Do a lot of your, is a lot of what you're seeing, do they not use Yelp as much anymore?
Well, I'm going to try to keep it positive. I think, Yelp is kind of it's the default social network for the Debbie Downers and negative Nancys of the world. And what we see on Yelp is over half of comments on the platform are negative. It's really kind of a disaster place to be, but Yelp is doing some good things. And I wanted to highlight the good things that Yelp is doing in terms of building their business. And the first is, Yelp is really doing a good job of allowing people to actually make reservations through their platform. We're starting to see a really nice uptick and a nice trend in people making reservations, dinner reservations through the app. You can see, it's a relatively small sample size at 7 or 8 per day that we're tracking, but that's a double from last year. And so that's a really big deal because Yelp can get paid on those. The other, kind of silver lining for Yelp, I guess you could say, is the actual usage of the app, just like Evelyn mentioned. What Yelp is doing in order to, really activate a lot of the features that make Yelp useful to you, they're really forcing you to use the app to do so. It's no longer just something that you can do on the browser. And that's strategic by Yelp because what they're doing is running an ad network through that app that is very effective. And so we see Yelp app usage near all-time highs. We see reservations through the platform at all-time highs and growing. And so there's some good things that the company's doing to try to turn things around.
Andy, I believe you have touched on exactly the point that I wanted to make here, which is providing people a platform to complain a long-term strategy? Because I've seen it affect my family in terms of Yelp, and a friend's daughter using Yelp with one of our favorite restaurants that we know the owners of, and it caused issues. I'm telling you, I've seen it. And I've never been on Yelp, but isn't it just, what else can they do than give people a platform to complain?
Well, I think, if I were Yelp, what I would try to do is, moderate some of this stuff so that the truly negative people don't have quite the voice that the rest of us do on the platform. It seems like when you leave something positive, you really get drowned out. And when you leave something negative, the restaurant owner really responds. And so it kind of incentivizes that behavior, which I think is a problem. So maybe Yelp could do something to incentivize the rest of us that normally enjoy our evenings out to leave those types of messages on the platform and make it a little bit more realistic in terms of a reflection of the experience that diners are having at these places. But other than that, I think getting more people on the app, verifying people a little bit more, they're doing a good job. I'm hoping that this reservation actions that people can take on the app can allow Yelp to, really verify that the person dined there before they leave a review, because we see a lot of spam on some sorts of political activity or some sorts of vengeance activity that can get pretty nasty. And so I think that those types of verification methods could help.
I agree completely. Yelp and social media in general have to get the heckler's veto out of their world and move on to the people who think positively or at least mixed about these companies.
Right. I was a restaurant server for a few years, and let me tell you, being on the bad side of Yelp review is not good. No. But it feels really great to be on the good side. So we need to see more positive Pollys posting on Yelp rather than those negative Nancys. But I have a tweet responding to a study by Womply that found that the financial impact of online reviews for small businesses They found that Yelps were less costly than that of Google or Facebook. And so this tweet from Social Media Burst says that it's interesting that Google is seemingly more meaningful when it comes to negative reviews than Facebook and Yelp. I think this is interesting because Google is definitely a high competitor, but if using Google is more costly to small businesses based on those negative reviews, then maybe Yelp is a better place to go for those businesses.
And Yelp, and is Yelp under the same government scrutiny than Facebook and Google are currently under? And what is that good? What's the long-term play out of this whole government in your business scenario? Because Google, the government's not going away with Google. I think it's going to get worse, not better.
I think the difference is, and there's actually some, some quandary going on right now with Grubhub and Yelp at this point because they're in hot water because they're skimming money. I ordered a pizza a couple months ago, and I did it through Grubhub as opposed to just calling the restaurant directly. The owner called me and he said, "Hey, just order through me directly. You've ordered before directly." And I say, "Oh yeah, I totally forgot."
Tom, skimming money is such a negative.
No, he said he actually loses
it's called
money.
VIG.
He actually loses money on the transaction.
I don't doubt it.
Because of the cost that some of these platforms like Yelp and Grubhub charge.
I don't doubt it.
Tom is stealing my thunder, so really quick, I just want to read our next tweet, then we'll jump to you, Andy. Our next tweet is actually from the author of the Vice article that first reported this. Her name is Adrienne Jeffries, and this tweet is responding to what you're saying. So why 2 phone numbers, she asks, because Grubhub and Yelp have a partnership. Since October, Yelp has been pushing users to that delivery or takeout number, which is owned by Grubhub, like you're saying, rather than the restaurant. So Andy, I'm wondering is this going to really matter long-term for the company? This bad press?
I think it can because what users, they don't want these kind of secretive deals. They don't want, they want to support local businesses and small businesses. By and large, people want to do that. They don't want to support, Silicon Valley companies that are skimming off the top. And what's happening is Yelp is putting these Grubhub phone numbers up for delivery. So instead of the user of Yelp, calling the restaurant directly for delivery or for takeout, they're calling a Grubhub number without even knowing it. And that's, that kind of shady business practices, I don't think speaks well for either Yelp or Grubhub. I think that the more consumers know what's going on, the more revolt there will be against these platforms. And it's just another indication that these companies they're really trying to, kind of take money rather than create positive experiences. And I think in the long term, that's a problem for both. We see some indications that maybe Yelp is going the right way from a technology perspective, but from a, from a business practices perspective, I think they've still got a long way to go.
Yeah, but based on your data, it's been pretty positive heading into this earnings report, right?
Yeah, I think it is pretty positive from a usage perspective. I don't think that we're going to make any big bets on this earnings event itself, but I do think, it's not one that I'd necessarily want a short position going into.
Yeah, the short interest in the stock's pretty high on Yelp as it's fallen recently. Hey, Andy, thanks for joining us again. I appreciate it.
Cool. Thanks, guys.